Okay, good morning, everyone. Seeing that we have a quorum, let me call to order the regular meeting of the Sunset Beach Planning Board for May 21st, 2026. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item as always, a conflict of interest. Does any member have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regard to any item on the agenda? And if so, please state so at this time. Richard?
I do not.
Michael?
No.
I do not. Stuart?
I do not.
Okay, seeing no conflict of interest, we'll move on. The next item is amending or approving today's agenda. And unfortunately, I'd like to make some changes and then let me tell you what I'm planning on doing and I'll make my motion. Just looking at the order here and thinking about it, and also this relates to, unfortunately, Rule 16 of our new rules of procedure. I'd like to change the order of this agenda and then permanently change all the orders of the agenda, which probably means Rule 16 also has to be slightly adjusted in order.
Did our rules get approved?
So we can amend, I think we still should make a motion to vote on this and then make that rule change. And it's a simple change. What I think we should do is move the public comments up. It's currently 9, just before the adjournment, to what in this case would be position 7, just before planning board comments, then administrative comments, and then adjournment. And the reason I'm thinking we should do that is, as opposed to today where it appears to be no public, if there are general public comments, we normally do not engage with the public directly, but it may be something that if the public has a great idea, we may want to discuss. And if we've already passed our planning board comment period,
Right.
we got to wait till. So I'm thinking, let's hear from the public. Like today, there will probably be none. We'll have nothing to discuss. But if they come up with a decent idea or something that we may want to do for a future meeting, we have time to discuss it in planning board comment, and then right after that, staff can kind of follow up with that and then adjournment. So
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
So I'm going to make a motion that we amend this agenda to move public comments up to number 7, planning board comments number 8, administrative comments number 9, and adjournment 10, and that we likewise adjust Rule 16 in our rules of procedure to reorder it same. And the other, so I'll make that motion. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Here, no nays. No nays. So the motion passes. Is staff okay with that little change?
Yeah, staff from moving forward level. What I've got to figure out is how do we do that in the rules of procedures that you guys have already voted on and move forward to council. I think we can do that from our end, Kimberly. We understand the intent.
Right. Do you want a copy of it?
No, I've got. I think I understand.
Okay.
If you want to give it to me, it's fine. I understand what we're trying to do.
Right. Okay. Next, first of all, any public comments on agenda item? Seeing no public, we'll move on to item 5. New business, old business, which is amending the overlay district. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. We previously worked on this and we sent it to the council, and the council did not approve it, basically because the appendix C had too many colors, too many paint colors. So what we've done is we now have a revised Appendix C, which you all should have in your packets. where myself, and then I think I emailed each of you individually for your comments, so it was just 2 at a time, reviewed this, and we trimmed down the list. I believe there are 48 exterior colors listed now. Some totally removed and some reduced down to only accent trim colors. So what we're looking to do here is to re-vote on this with the approved, with a revised appendix, and send it back to the council with the shortened list. And again, I guess for the record, my concern is 2 things. I don't believe we have an enforceable set of colors in our current code for 2 reasons. One, there are no color numbers showing in those bars. And every time you print those on a different printer and look at it on a different screen, they're different. So depending how you adjust your, I forget what it's called, gamma, on your color on your screen, you can change how those colors look. And because no one listed the color number, that it could be matched. I tried to find them, and they're completely different. If you search some of those names, they're like different colors for the same name. So
is there I mean, I totally get what the issue is. The problem's going to be is by selecting a color, we are almost by default then selecting the brand.
no, once you have the color number, like these are SW, so they're Sherwin-Williams. You
Okay.
can take an SW 7006 and go to Benjamin Moore, and it'll match the color.
And they'll match it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and,
right.
and just for further clarification, to support what the chair is saying, is the intent was never to say that someone has to use a particular brand.
But I think we mentioned that in the way you wrote the
Yeah.
appendix. It's not,
So-
it's the color.
Okay.
But this
Right.
does allow someone to take a number. Hey, this is whatever number. I can go match it somewhere else.
Right.
And that's an industry standard
Yeah.
within which we have sufficient confidence that we're not going to
Paint providers can figure it out.
And the second problem I have is we have structures out there with colors that are not in the current chart,
Right.
particularly the yellow on the store. There are no yellows in that chart that we provide.
Right.
Okay. So we've approved structures with colors that even on the wildest view of that chart those bars we got ain't there. There are no yellows.
Right.
Okay. So I believe in my mind, what we have now is unenforceable. If anyone puts up a building there, can essentially, it would be hard pressed to make Ron say, rejected on the permit. The color isn't in, because they could say, well, you approved other colors. And I think the deep blue in that one little store there also is not in there.
So in a perfect world, we would find the colors that are essentially grandfathered in on the basis of these buildings are built and painted. Second, we would
I did.
take,
Butter up is the yellow.
okay, take the
and
list.
the deep blue that's down is sort of like what I thought was pretty close to Mediterranean.
Okay. And
So
then,
they would actually come into compliance.
okay. And they would be added to the list of 50 that we'd
48.
48. And then we would designate, based on whatever brand we choose, the color number that is now enforceable by code.
Once assuming council approves this amendment as movie, and again, assuming you guys vote on it, which I believe you're going to, someone wants to build a new building, they're either that they're subject to the urban design standards or the gateway overlay requirements, gateway overlay, they're going to use this color palette or whatever variation is approved by council to select colors. And my opinion on how it should work is when when the site plan is submitted, you know how we get elevations that show height in most cases? We're also getting colors, color palette, if you will, what they're being proposed. Whether
So
it's going to be,
they're being-
whether it comes to you guys for approval or staff, whatever we
Right.
end up
Yeah.
land on, with the amendment that's under.
So they'd be
approval by council.
required to provide an elevation with colors
And which colors they choose.
embedded into the plan.
Or they could
But-
just state it by list probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The exterior is going to be painted this color, trims this color, and that's it.
But what we can't,
Right.
what I don't think the purpose of this is to say, well, we don't, even though color whatever is listed on this, we don't want you to do that color. We want you to do another color. If it's listed in this group,
Yes, it's approvable.
the applicant can choose amongst those colors of what they want, how they want their
Okay.
exterior to look.
And
don't
this
wanna be
is
that
only
big.
for, now, are we in any danger of triggering a downzoning appeal?
No, because the intent there is with the downzoning is you cannot create nonconformities with these colors. And I believe the current, as the chair says,
Okay.
if there's some buildings that already have used some colors that even aren't in the color palette, and if they're being brought over with this packet or this
Being-
proposal, then they should be.
I believe all the colors
Compliant.
that were intended to be in the first group are in this group, but with a number
And
and a
the prel-
reputable way
and-
of doing it.
And the preliminary plat that we just approved, oh, he's in the mud district, so he's
Doesn't count.
exempt.
This
Right.
is
Okay.
only in a gateway district and then
Urban design.
urban
All right,
design,
never
which is
mind.
outside the mud then.
Okay.
Non-residential,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah, and in
Let's
theory,
so
the
it's
ga-
not-
Let's state that clearly, residential can paint their house any color
yes,
they want.
This
Right.
does not regulate.
This does not, it's only
Residential.
non-residential.
It would regulate multifamily.
Right.
But-
So the Logan development that is going to put multifamily residential along 904. Now, how far back from 904 does the Gateway District apply?
I'd have to go.
It's a measurement.
It's a measurement. I
Yeah,
forget what
200
it
feet maybe, I don't
It
remember.
may, it may actually,
150.
give me a minute to look in the code. It may actually.
So
state.
I want to ask a question too, though, before we get. In the code, it never says that you must use these colors. I mean, it just says the overall exterior color scheme must be selected to be harmonious with the neighborhood and blend with the natural surroundings of the site. Earth tones must be chosen. Colors shall not be used to cause the structure to stand out. I think what the code is saying is that they can pick any color as long as it is similar to the examples that we're giving in Appendix C. And because I think we're trying to be descriptive and not prescriptive. I don't think we're trying to say that you can only use these colors. But if they got something close to one of our 48 colors, I think they could use that. I mean, I think what we're trying to do is say, hey, this is kind of your color scheme,
Right.
not that you have to use this particular color. But if they do use that particular color, it's obviously that'll be approved.
I think they were trying to give some leeway
Right.
to matching. Guess that's the way I viewed it is.
It-
If you're
it-
trying for butter, you know,
But I think, you know, again, I don't want us to be so rigid that,
Well, would this be something that where the planning board would have some discretion and the applicant would submit and say, this is a color similar to a color in code, present it to us, and then would we have the power to say, yeah, that's fine?
I believe so the way that's
I
written.
think
That's the way-
so.
If they say it's essentially, we're going to paint essentially the same as Stonebriar.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going out there with, I forget what the color meter is. To
Right.
see what the color is. Yeah, I think the way I interpret it is, here's,
So am I right?
Mr. Jones is correct.
Right.
It outlines, it says this is example. It says, and I'm looking both urban design and the gateway, the basic the language is the same. Overall exterior color scheme must be selected to be harmonious with the neighborhood and blend with the natural surroundings. Earth tones must be chosen as the site's predominant colors. Colors shall not be used to cause the structure to stand out. In the gateway, it even goes further to say, sorry, let me go back there.
Compatibility of colors to those existing in the
Yeah.
vicinity.
And it also mentions signage.
and size of the structure?
Earth's color shall not be used. Where does it say?
There's also a thing about sites with good
Oh.
tree coverage providing shading.
Right. Building and roof colors shall consist of earth tone colors. Primary colors or bright colors should be limited to trim and signage.
So again, I think
It's a guide.
it's a guide, and I wonder if some of our terminology in these colors where we say not to be used.
Well, I didn't have a way to remove a color.
So I guess I'm wondering when it goes into code, is it going to look just like what we've got in our packet, or is it these colors just won't be in there?
Likely, just they won't be in there.
Okay.
But when
The
trying
only
to get
way,
it to the
the only
planning-
way to do that is I don't have the tools to remove it other than put a
Right.
white box over it. I would know which ones I took out.
Right.
and that was the intent of
Yeah.
keeping it like it is.
Right. Well, I understand, and it needs to get the council the same
Right.
way so they know what we were doing. But
Yeah.
I think we need to be somewhere in here. I think it needs to say that these are examples and not,
Well, it does say
does
an
say that.
example of additional acceptable color palette
okay,
in the red line.
Yes, it does say that.
okay.
And the answer, Mr. Dysonger's question, 300 feet. You got the gateway. How far is the gateway measures? 300 feet.
And I mean, I'm particularly concerned about, excuse me, the Logan development, which constitutes most of the 904 gateway approach. And in that conditional zoning, there's a variety of, so what happens when a building spans at 300 feet? Is it included or is it exempt?
I need to look at the language.
There's some language in there about how that handled. I don't remember what it was.
Says the gateway corridor overlay standards shall apply to all buildings on lots or open uses of land constructed, reconstructed, or established whereby the lot either fronts directly onto the corridor or to the buildings within 300 feet of the center line. So if the building is within 300 feet of the center line, even just like the front facade of the building is within 300 feet, that's what's going to be
Okay.
applicable. The back side, then the back wouldn't even apply anyway, but the back side would not be applicable.
So the front side facing the corridor would.
Right, as long as it's within 300 feet. That's how I would quickly, just looking at the language, I quickly interpret that.
So back to my examples thing, I just want to reiterate. So we took 8 examples of colors and we expanded it to 79 colors to give people more flexibility.
Right.
We sent 79 colors to the council and they said that 79 colors examples were too many examples.
Because they said they wanted more consistency.
Right.
So
Okay.
we've trimmed it down to 48. And I believe it's looking through and looking the colors and what was there before. I think we're consistent with the original earth tone concept and get consistency in the commercial area and also embrace the colors that are there now.
Right.
That's what I tried to do,
Right.
such that anything that they could repaint the way it is if they needed to, not be non-conforming. And any new building come in if they chose from this list or again some reasonable view from it,
Variation. Yeah.
everyone's going to be happy and in compliance and not be forced. I do recall there was an issue with the Dollar General store because one of their corporate colors wasn't in our. So we allowed the color that was out there.
Yeah, and just
Right.
keep in mind though that both urban design standards, and I don't know how this applies to the dollar store. I'm not saying this to support or not support what you're saying. Both urban design standards and the gateway reference primary colors can be used for trim and signage. Both of them say that.
And white
Primary
and black.
colors are,
White and black.
Hmm.
White and black.
well, primary colors will be
Red, white, yellow.
White Biv.
Yeah.
blue is a primary color.
Yeah, because on Roy G. There's red, orange, yellow,
Yep.
green.
Orange is really not primary, I don't think, but it's the three. There's three primary colors.
It depends how you look at that.
Yeah.
I understand, but
You take a prism, you
but
get
but
all
what,
the primary colors.
but what you've done, what this proposal does, though, it is outlining what could be accepted for trim
Right.
and exterior. It does broaden it in some ways, but I do agree with Mr. Jones's point. Is if someone comes in and says, "Well, this color is like that color," it can still be used because this is an example. It is not a set in stone. It has to be one of these, whether it's the current code or the new code, current proposal, current
But
code. Or
I think
proposed
there's
code.
enough choices they could pick that no color.
I would agree with you.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
And come up with and again, a decent looking commercial there. I don't, well, okay.
No, I agree.
Does this,
I agree with you. What you're saying.
oh, sorry. Does this cover signage as well?
It says that in both situations, it says that signage could have primary colors. So I'm not. To me, it says.
So God
To me,
forbid,
it says roof and building exterior color.
T-Mobile,
It says to
in
me.
the commercial, in the approved commercial plat, sorry, at the corner of 904 and Old Georgetown Road, T-Mobile decides to put a storefront there. Well, they're magenta, and they're not changing their colors. What happens?
The way I would interpret, you guys may interpret this differently, but the way I interpret the code, it says, building and roof colors shall consist of earth tone. Sign is not a building; it's not a
Right.
roof.
They could put their corporate sign up.
Got
And then it further says, primary colors or bright colors shall be limited to trim and signage.
All right.
So a bright yellow Dollar General sign, a
Right.
bright green Dollar Tree sign
Got it. Okay.
could be proposed and used.
Interesting.
And that's current code language, not
Yeah.
and it's being retained or proposed to be retained in the.
And also,
Amendment.
remember in this, I mean, we got nixed back or returned to us because of the colors, but we were making some other small changes here
Yes.
to clarify the Gateway District and urban design standards, the trees, making sort of, it got sent back, it didn't get adopted, left the appendix, it got sent back to us. So I
Right.
still think we want the other small changes, particularly bringing the trees up to date to our
Right.
current stand. So,
And also the code which applies, because if there was a conflict potentially,
Right.
what
Right.
Now, does bringing the tree thing up to, is that going to get us in trouble for downzoning?
I don't believe so, because you're expanding the tree.
yeah, we got more trees now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I believe I did not back check this, but I believe most, if not all, of the trees that are listed
But
are
as we see
included
later-
in the current.
As
in
we
the
see later,
standard language.
downzoning has a definition, it doesn't include that. The
That's true.
specific language of what the downzoning means.
Right.
Okay, which we
Right.
can review in the next segment. So where I'm at this, I still want the text changes we make, and I want to at least give the council a second crack at the colors. And I guess I'll state where I'm at. The colors, I think that I put together here with you guys is a reasonable color palette that gives the developers and applicants a choice to pick colors that are nice for their building, meet the original intent of their code, the earth tones and the 8 bars, whatever we had, and provide the uniformity and consistency that the council requested. So, barring any further discussion, Michael?
I got one question on page 7. Just help me understand this. Under contrast, it says the use of black, white, and off-white is typically avoided. So if white
Where are you at?
page 6, I'm sorry. No, page 7.
Page 7, okay.
Where on page 7?
Uh,
Page, the staff report you're looking at or the,
Well, it may say 6 or 7.
Contrast is top of page 8
Oh,
on the staff report, I believe.
There's a contrast on page 7,
Okay.
paragraph.
Page 7, yeah, contrast.
so that's I. The
Yeah,
3I section.
3
right?
At the bottom, the last sentence, the use of black, white, off-white is typically avoided, yet we have white in the appendix C. I just thought that was a little odd,
Yeah. Use of black, white, or off-white.
the wording there.
typically avoided.
What section is that applying to? Put that in.
That's right below the color stuff. 2 is color hue, and 3 is contrast.
Contracts here.
Very last sentence in 3.
Yeah, the last sentence. Or use of black or white.
Seems like you couldn't use white trim then.
Well, it just seemed odd to me that
Yeah, you
one
could have a-
statement's in there.
You could have a blue building, but you couldn't have white trim.
Right.
Too much contrast.
A slightly darker wall color in the bottom story of a two-story structure may help reduce the visual height of it. The use of black, white, or off-white is typically avoided and may be approved only. Is it vague enough that it gives approval? I mean, I'm not sure what they were trying
It's-
to get to there.
Well, to me, the whole language is unimportant.
Right, because it's typical, may be approved, right?
Yep, and it says, yes, typically avoided
Right.
and may be used.
And may be used.
So under what
it's-
parameters may be used? And to me, that's a discretionary call.
I'm not
And
even-
this board nor staff. Well, again, I'm saying that
Yeah.
we don't know where the site plan is going to land. Site plan approval is going to land. This board is not authorized to have quasi-judicial decisions.
Right.
Staff is not authorized to make quasi-judicial decisions. And to me, that's a discretionary issue.
So I guess
I
the-
don't feel like it's an enforceable language.
Right. Should we strike it
Yeah, should we
or
strike
just
that
leave it
sentence?
because it ain't?
Strike it or make it more objective.
Well, I don't understand
Or
what
you
it's
just
trying
leave
to
it,
do.
or you just leave it.
That's I didn't
I mean,
understand.
it's a
either.
valid
We took-
point. It's a
we
valid
took-
point, Mike. I
Yeah.
appreciate you bringing
I
it
don't
up.
understand what
Yeah.
it's trying to achieve even.
And did we take black out of the appendix?
No,
We didn't?
it's for trim only.
Trim on.
Yeah, trim
Okay.
only. I think we could just strike that sentence.
Yeah, from the word the
I just
use,
thought it was confusing.
Yeah.
Me.
from the
Glad
use,
you-
from
glad you
the
saw
from
it.
the word the to the period after warranted, and just make red line that off.
And you probably want to make the same under the urban design standard.
Urban design
C.
probably has it somewhere, right?
So right on, to me, it's look like it's the top of page 8.
Page 8, it's in the same spot, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll strike it there also. Very good, Michael.
Thank you.
So noted. I've got it noted. Good
Okay.
design.
Okay. Anything else, Michael?
No.
Okay. So I will make a motion that we. Let me find my statement here. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. I make a motion that we adopt action A on planning board summary, and I'll read that, and then someone can second if they choose. The planning board hereby recommends approval of the modified, one modification proposed amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, and finds that one, is consistent with the town's comprehensive 2017 Town of Sunset Beach Land Use Plan, and as the amendments to the Gateway Overlay and Urban Design Minimum Standards and current design requirements, and 2, that it is in the public interest because the amendments may encourage commercial development along the major corridors in accordance with the goals outlined in the 2017 Land Use plan. Any second? Mike,
I can't jump in front of him.
go ahead.
I'll
Mike.
second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing no nays, the ayes have it. Action A with the one modification and the new appendix of colors is approved. And hopefully the council, staff is okay presenting to the council and everything like that. And we can put that to rest. The next item on our agenda was for discussion, and I'll turn this over to Ron too, is 2025 legislative item updates regarding new legislation may require, and again, may might be the operative word here, amendments to the town UDO. So all yours, Mr. Ron.
Sure, thanks. So this is similar to what we did last year, although last year I think we did a little bit earlier in the year. Taking the school of government legislative bulletin, which you should have a copy of, that outlined all the changes to land use, building inspections, and other related planning related items that occurred in last year's General Assembly approval. So some of these session laws we need to take in consideration and look at, see what we may need to change in our code. I've tried to go through the legislative bulletin and highlight areas of interest. Doesn't mean that you guys shouldn't focus on some of the other things, but the items that I highlighted, what I believe we might want to center our conversation on, because it has implications, potential implications on our UDO, not on other things. So that's what I tried to focus on. The first one is adjust our zoning practices to account for limits on down zonings. And I've held off on bringing, even though this was in last year's legislation, I've held off bringing this to you because, first of all, I'm aware of it and I know what the rules are, and you guys are aware of it. So we've had some good conversations on what we can and can't do from a down zoning perspective. The second reason was last year there was several pieces of legislation that were brought forward but never made it past committees, and to revert the down zoning regulations back to what they were previously. A lot of it was, counties and municipalities in this one county or this one district, or the specific town, and there also was some that would occur statewide. That said, I believe that we still need, at this point, we're ready to take action, and what I likely will propose to you is to just amend the definition of down zoning in our ordinance to say per General Statute 160D, whatever the reference is.
Right.
So as that legislation changes, our code changes automatically, and we don't have to keep
Changing
it back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they have a definition of what down zoning is, right?
Yes. Yeah, and our code also has a definition of down zoning that was consistent with the previous down zoning. So again, my proposal to you would, assuming we move forward next month, is just to take our current definition and refer to the general statute definition. Don't quote it, just refer to General Statute 160D, whatever that citation is.
Yeah, 160D, 601D.
Yeah, so as that changes, it changes in our code. I don't always like to do that because it's good for people to know what the definition
Yeah, the
is.
downside of that is you don't know what it is unless
But
you pull this up all the time.
if you have that citation, at least we can go to it and find it fairly easily.
Yeah.
So that, just with the uncertainties, that's what I likely will propose to you guys. Unless the discussion here takes a different.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when we move forward with it, you will
I
see.
guess
the
I'd say
definition
the
change.
problem is reading the definition, this particular definition, I guess that's okay because it's just, it's going to be hard to attach to all the time. If we write it down somewhere, we got to keep updating it. But the
Right.
problem is,
By the time we update it, it might
We're behind,
change
yeah.
back again.
so I guess we're going to have to rely on staff all the time
Sure.
to reflect to us what is the current since we don't have the written version,
Right.
always to know what it is.
Sure, that's just a quick Google search. Just a quick look in General Statute 160D. Just no different than I just looked up the measurement.
But the problem is, you know how legislation go. They could do new sections that modify that section to modify a new section that's another section.
Understood.
Okay.
Understood.
So then you get multiple sections falling back on, rolling up on that.
Understand. So,
Okay.
but that's
It's-
kind of just my thought process anyway, is to go
Yes.
to reference that instead of having to change it each time, because who knows if I've already seen legislation introduced for specific jurisdictions again already in this short session
Right.
to
So is our sense that, and I've heard this, that there is a trend to reduce the impact of that term downzoning? Are they going to make it less restrictive?
there's some conversations that were some legislation that was introduced last year again to specific jurisdictions, and I think there was one or two out there that was floating around that would occur statewide that would have reverted the downzoning definition back to its original form,
Okay.
basically allowing counties and municipalities to initiate a zoning change that may be considered a downzone. That piece of it, not all of it, but just that's the piece I'm talking about. However, until they act on it, we are still bound by the state definition.
Mhm.
And I think there's some thoughts out there that is the longer that legislation
It becomes
sits, it becomes more the likelihood to become permanent.
permanent. Yeah.
But it's not likely that they're going to make it worse.
I can't answer that.
You can't,
Okay.
I can't
the
answer
problem is again the public view of these things, because they're not into this. And probably if we polled the public, they would think this doesn't exist this way. That local planning boards and town council can control, but that's really no longer the case.
Oh yeah.
You can never make it way it is now, essentially under the definition. You can't affect any of that to make it harder to develop anything.
Correct.
That's what the law really says. You have a law, a code. You're not allowed to make it any harder for anybody to develop their rights on their property.
Right. And there's some jurisdictions that have recently gone through an updated land use plan,
Is there a way? Because
and incorporating those policies have been difficult because of this downzoning.
yeah,
definition.
this is something that comes up a lot. Why can't you guys do more to fill in the blank? So I'm a little uncomfortable with kind of kicking the can down the curb. In other words, when you come to this site, our site, we don't tell you what it is. We say, "Yep, go to the North Carolina statute." Is there a way to provide a summary that can be more general?
Yeah, but that always ties us into the language at the time. Then
Yeah.
I thought it.
I mean, I can look
I mean,
at
the
that.
general purpose of the downzoning law is to limit the
We can't-
ability of
We can't put a
municipalities.
hot link in our code, right?
You can, but I don't know that. I don't know how
Because
that
once
works.
the hot link expires for some reason,
Yeah, it
404 is
could
up.
become a problem.
Right. That's the
So-
problem.
So the issue though is I don't want to put words in the legislature's mouths and say what they were intending to do with this. I would not advise our code to say the intent of this was to do X.
Right.
Because I don't know what the intent of the legislature was.
Well, yeah, we do.
Well, but I'm not going. I don't think we need to be.
We know what the intent is.
We don't need to publicize that in our zoning. in our
Okay.
UDO.
All right.
Yeah. So the plan, the way I see it now, is to adjust our UDO to reference to existing state law on downzoning,
That was my thought process.
which is the law and its definition of what downzoning is.
That would be my recommendation.
And then staff would bring to our attention what that code is when any item comes up that may or may not be a downzoning topic.
Yeah. That's the staff's job
Right.
to do that anyway.
Okay.
I think that's the right way to do instead of us going through UDO amendments every few months to update the code. It seems like, because that costs the town money every time
Right.
we could do a public announce
Yeah.
a public hearing announcement. They got to pay for the ad in
And-
the paper and everything.
And either way, I mean, if the state changes the law to be more flexible, we'd immediately be on the same page.
Yeah. I
Right.
guess I'm not comfortable with a lack of ability to share with our community what the impact of this is.
I do that often with conversations with citizens.
Yeah, but if
Is-
it's a conversation 10 times, it's already too late.
Maybe it's something they could put in a newsletter. And
What?
maybe when this comes up and we make this change, right? This will be a text amendment.
Right.
And it'll come through us in council. The newsletter could reflect and put the hot link to state law. And if somebody wants to research that on their own, which
Sure.
encourage the citizens to do, they can then look up the state law.
Okay.
So, and when you get this next month or the following month, whatever, move this forward, it's going to, you will see that in my mind anyway, this case, the staff report will say, we're doing this to bring our code in compliance
Well, it
with
would be nice
North Carolina
even
state law.
on the community website, definition of design zoning, click here,
Yeah, it could
and
be
then
in a
off they go.
it could very easily be in a newsletter when they describe this
Yeah.
action.
All right.
And the code already states, like, if the statute is if our code is in conflict with the statute trumps.
Yeah, because the thing that this
Governs.
does
This is better.
is the I mean, we get the heat because, we're kind of, even though we're the tail end of the dog, we're the closest thing to where it's actually happening. And so the community comes to us and goes, what the hell are you doing? Or why aren't you doing? And in some respects, at that point, it's already too late. We're
In some
wearing the
respects.
scarlet A.
In some respects, but this already took forth in
Yeah.
2024.
Right.
And I don't know if there's a way to fix that, but it's just
It's,
frustrating.
we're never going to be able to educate 100% of the community on every single law and situation that are out there.
Which is
And
what
that's
we're
why
saying.
you have staff.
This
That's
is
why
why
you
we're
have
here.
planning board,
Yeah.
board of adjustment for a check valve, et cetera. So
Yeah, I guess,
Okay.
and this will be my last comment, believe it or not.
Today?
My response is, if you want to change this, you've got to go upstream.
Got to go to Raleigh.
Yeah, you got to go to Raleigh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk to
all right.
Frank Eiler.
Okay, so
So-
that's our plan on that one.
yes, the next one I'm looking at page 5 of that legislative bulletin. It's at the top. So it's page 24 of your packet, but page 5 of that bulletin. Next thing I highlighted was the American and North Carolina flags.
Yeah. And my looking at it, it relates to our 3.41 C1R. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's the right citation.
Right.
Uh,
So do we need just to exempt the U.S. and North Carolina flag in R? Because
it's-
we're saying you're allowed up to 3 flags. Now, size 4x6.
what was that citation again, Mr. LeBruno?
3.41
Yes, sir.
C.1.R. It's
R.
on page
Okay,
149 of my book. But
No, that's fine. R is what I just I was needing.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah. So currently the code says flying with the 3 flags. Size shall not exceed 4 feet by 6 feet. All 3 flags may be flown on a single flagpole or individual flagpoles, but not exceed 3 flags. And any flagpole shall not exceed a height of 25 feet. As I read this, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, you have a chance to read it. This says that we cannot regulate the size of American flag or the state flag.
right.
And
So
so we regulate the size in that citation. We also regulate it by pole height.
Well, the pole is not the flag.
Right. It's not. But if we say if we limit a
That's
pole
not
to
this-
25 feet in height and
Can't
someone
have a
wants to
40
have
foot.
a 40-foot flag, then in essence we're regulating the size of the flag.
So we're not. You could put it on there.
Anyway, that's
American flag can't touch the ground.
this.
Well,
Well, I don't know. That I
and,
think
and
is
it's supposed to be down at sunset too,
yeah.
but
Or
Nobody does
lit.
So anyway,
or lit, right?
But my thought is, do we just in R, what would we do an item 4 IV that says the United States flag and the North Carolina are exempt.
That's a possibility. I haven't
As
figured out
simple
how
as
I
that
want to
and
move
done.
forward with it yet. I haven't decided. I haven't determined what's the best course of action. That is certainly one way to do it.
Now, so, but consider that this is already code for them, right? Session Law
Yes,
2594.
this is something.
If somebody came here with a American flag 10 by 12,
We'd have to allow it.
yeah. Well, it's not an allowable thing. Somebody puts one up. You know,
It's allowable because it's state law.
right. But
Right, we're not, let me
what
say
they're
it's not
talking about
regulated.
here is action to stop them.
It's not regulated.
Right.
So all it means is we would take no action. Right. This is talking about enforcement.
Enforcement, which
It,
is
it just becomes unenforceable.
Right.
We can even leave our standard the way it is and just never enforce it for a U.S. flag or state flag.
doesn't some of this apply to the municipal code?
I'd
some of
have
the-
to, that I don't know. I have to look at the municipal
Some
code.
of this enforcement stuff seems like more municipal code than.
I have not
you-
done a deep dive on this particular one yet. In fact, this is one thing that I wanted to bring in get an opinion from our attorney on if administration, if I'm allowed to do that. So,
Okay.
Because flags can be a very controversial matter.
Right. Well, it's a free speech.
It's come
item.
about as there's been some certain businesses, not only in our state and region, but in other areas of the country that
Tampa World.
they have these large American flags that jurisdictions have been saying you cannot display that because it exceeds our standards. And it was changed as a result of my understanding as a result of that.
Right.
But I will look in Municode as well to see if there's any changes necessary for that.
So I guess in my view, we either change subparagraph R exempting those two types of flags as a free speech item, or just never enforce our code. Is unenforceable.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to have unenforceable language.
Yeah.
In language that contradicts, because while we understand what the intent is, the next person may not.
Right.
Or the next board may not.
I mean, it's in my mind, it's still enforceable if Richard wants to open his T-Mobile shop and put 3 T-Mobile
Yes.
flags up. This code applies.
Yes, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Right. That is completely enforceable. But if you want to put one T-Mobile flag up and a bigger than 4x6 North Carolina flag and a bigger than 4x6 U.S. flag, he can, because nothing will happen to it.
I 100% agree with you. Then yes.
Well, that's good to know.
Or
So what if you have a 40-foot long American flag and the flagpole is 20 feet off the property line? I mean, it could potentially be 20 feet on somebody else's.
and then
property.
it depends on which way the wind's blowing, I guess.
Right.
No different than a tree being planted in the tree limbs at some point.
If it's over your
it's bent
property
over.
line, you cut it off.
So you can cut off the American flag.
If it's over your property line.
So it's
And it's below the highest point in the town. That's your sky, your vertical.
I'm just wondering
No,
if we could
understood.
mandate that, the
I think it,
flags have to totally maintain on the property.
I can look into that a little bit.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I guess in
Because that's part of the problem when flags get so big is that,
they
they're taking up so much real estate.
Well,
that-
usually those poles are much higher too.
well, have to be restrained.
Yeah, much higher, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't be 20 feet off the property line.
Yeah, in other words, you put the pole at the corner of the property. Most of the time, the flag is over your property line, depending on the wind, right?
Right.
So I don't know, but basically, well, okay. So we need to look into something on that, and
Yes, sir. And the intent of this was not necessarily to say I've got the panacea from how to fix the code. It's just bringing these items to your attention.
but right now, anyone putting up a large American North Carolina flag is protected by state law.
That's how I
Yeah.
understand it.
Right. Okay. Next.
The next item is page 6, waiting period. And we've talked about this a little bit already. So it's something I'm going to say enforcing now because we're of enforcement, maybe the wrong word, because we've not had anybody do this yet, but we cannot put a waiting period on when an issue has been denied or when it can come back to whatever the process is.
Well,
Currently, I
think,
believe there's a 12-month waiting period.
I think
Yeah.
we should amend our text to remove all that. One,
Yes.
I don't even think it's a good idea.
No,
Yes.
I don't think so.
If someone gets denied and they want to come back the next month with a new proposal,
And
why would we not want to hear it?
it's a new proposal. They have to
Right.
repay
Yeah.
application fees, et cetera.
So,
I think that only happened once a while ago.
but
But
we need to
it's-
certainly comply with the law. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's the better way of doing it.
in practice, we
agree.
are complying with the law.
Right.
And
So we need to adjust our code to match that.
Pender County just amended their code. I'm familiar with that because I served on the planning board. We Pender County amended their their code a couple months ago, and they wanted to make sure that it was cited the reason why it was happening. So, but I'm not suggesting we need to do that here. It may just be to remove. It's simple solution may just be remove it.
Just remove the.
But Mr. Dyson, it's kind of what you're talking about. The public may not be aware of this, but we can't put commentary in the
Yeah.
ordinance on why it was removed. We can do that in the case summary.
Right, in our public discussion. So yeah, we should comply with that state law. And here's the case that probably the state law is correct on a better way of doing things. If someone is denied, they want to retool their proposal, they should be able to come right back and go through the process again. Okay,
All right, the next one at bottom of page 7, land use law clarifications. I highlighted this. I believe we need to go through, or I need to go through the code to see if we need to do anything particular with that. But I wanted to bring it to your attention nonetheless.
nothing jumped out of
Nothing
me.
jumped out of me either, but I
Right.
wanted to at least
Yeah.
make sure you were aware of it. That's what I'm
I'm a little more interested in the family care homes and the pavement at the.
right. Number 8 is pavement standards, which basically says that we cannot have more strict paving requirements than the Department of Transportation.
So the way I read our current 4.9.D.1A, our 18-inch undercut, 8-inch of base, 2.5 inches of asphalt doesn't not agree. I can't get it.
And
With the North Carolina Department of Transportation subdivision road minimum construction standards. So my thought is, like the first one, we're just going to have to, I think, reference these sections.
yeah, and it's something I've briefly reached out to Matt Sorrells, a public works
Right.
director, on this to see how do our standards conflict with, and
do.
if so, how much. And I believe they do.
They
Yeah.
do right now.
So-
Ours is a much simpler standard.
Yeah, and it may we need to just say reference the statute. I'm
Well,
sorry, the
I mean,
standard.
it's just it's
the
a
DOT
it's a
standards.
handbook. It's not really
That's what I meant, to reference the
Right.
handbook.
Yeah,
Because
that
as
handbook
changes,
is used all over the state.
and as that changes, then our code changes.
I mean, we have a simple one. We have one standard. They have
Several.
at least I see 5 here. No, more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different standards depending on the base, the soil type. It did come up, I think, with Logan or somebody, didn't it, on the undercut and everything?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it has to do with the part of the state you're in too.
right, the soil and everything.
Now, is that an improvement on what our standard is?
I'd say no.
It'd be a little less.
It'll be a little less.
It'd be a little less.
Okay.
So the town has to think
but
about
it's
this.
a down zoning.
No, it's a down zoning for the town
Right.
because, and council may need to think about this a little bit too. If we adopt this, which we're going to have to, because there are no more private roads, be public. The subdivision,
No.
yes, we don't.
There are a few in Sea Trail.
Yeah, but
Those are mostly-
new roads
New
going
roads.
forward.
Okay.
Now we may not even have this case anymore.
No, it's just requiring the pavement design standards.
Yes, for all private or public roads.
Right. We can
So-
still have private roads,
No, but
but they would just have to use this standard.
yes, but anything being built in the future is going to be a
Yeah.
town road.
The code requires, with exception of ETJ, all new streets shall be constructed and dedicated for public purposes.
Right,
Okay.
which means
I believe this is what you're
the
getting at.
town is taking over a road that
Is
is probably a little less than our original code.
Right.
So obviously, what I'm saying is the town may be open for more maintenance in the future because we got a 2.5-inch asphalt on the top, and most of these are between 1.5 and well, they're all between 1.5 and 2. There are no 2.5s on this list.
Nope.
So
what you may be getting at is, does the town want to entertain allowing private streets again? No.
doesn't make any difference because it says private or public.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just that the
Well, but they're required to be public. New streets required to be public.
Yes.
So what I hear, I'm
that there's going to be a further expense to the town because
The
unless you
standards
go back to the NC dot and say increase your standards.
right.
and that
So-
ain't happening.
Right.
So but
Now,
there-
is that something that we could recommend to the developer?
what, that they're public streets?
Mm-hmm.
No, that they're
No.
use more asphalt.
That they use more asphalt.
They don't have to.
No,
Why would they?
we
agree?
wouldn't have any power by ordinance.
I mean,
but
if it's, can you ask? The answer is, could you ask? I mean,
Sure,
the
we
question
can
is,
ask.
can you ask? Sure.
Sure.
Can you require? No.
no.
Now, when was this?
Well, it is in the interests
So
of
this
the community they're building.
It only applies to anything approved, initiated after January 1st of this year.
Right. So all the previous ones before January 1st are using our
Previous standard.
2.5 over 8.
Yeah. So all of Angel's Trace is
Right.
what our current standard is.
Right. And
Sanctuary.
going forward,
Sanctuary is an example of the previous standard.
Yeah.
right. So anything after that, which were not a lot, we approved.
It's not going to be much.
Right. But going forward,
Yeah.
the state standard will apply and not our local standard.
Okay.
But all I was saying is council have to be aware when they're doing their road maintenance planning budget, if there is a new development, it may require more maintenance over the lifetime than before.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the next item, and I went through this, I tried to go pretty thorough. So if I've overlooked something, I apologize. But the next item that jumped off to me that we could consider doing, I'm still trying to find it. Page 25 at the top, 25, childcare facilities.
Hold on. Staff report, page 25.
Staff report, page 44, page
Ah.
25 for the legislative bulletin.
Yes. Yeah, I looked at that one.
Modify the definition of family child care home.
So that is our 3.7E, right?
Yes, sir.
Our use. We call it family care home.
Um,
They're calling it family child care home.
no, this is a daycare, basically. A daycare.
No,
This
no.
is a daycare in a house.
Not necessarily. I didn't exactly read it. Child care
It's a child care facility.
in a home.
Yeah, it's a
In a
family care.
home.
It's a child care facility in a house.
So that's under our. So that's an approved residential use.
Yes, current code, you can have a daycare.
Yes. So
Uh,
residential and related uses. We have family care home as permitted, PS, permitted with a special use standard. Or are you saying that's non-table?
This is a daycare facility
In a
in a
private
house,
residence.
in a house. Yes.
Right, which wouldn't that be likewise covered by E, 3.7E? Or that is,
Let me look at 37E. No, 3.7E is up to 6 special needs persons, which are defined by the statutes. That's somewhere like that's different. Those we have to treat them as a residential home. Period. We cannot require a special use permit or anything for those.
all right, I'm not sure what this thing's telling us to do then, because it seems like mostly fire
These are-
safety standards. We
these
don't,
are-
we don't have a place to do anything.
These are in-home daycares up to so many children. I'm trying to let me find that section law. Section 18.
But we have daycare facilities as a non-residential use.
These seem like building permit
Okay.
issues.
Could also be a home occupation potentially. So the family child care home by the new definition is a child care arrangement located in an operator occupied private dwelling where at any one time more than 2 children but less than 11 children receive child care provided the arrangement in accordance with general statutes.
That are not your kids.
Yes, correct.
So we need a new box completely. In the residential use table, we need the new category called family child care. And then a new special use standard.
A new definition to go with it.
And again, I'm just bringing it to your attention
Yeah.
of a possible
I was
conflict.
thinking that we could take that one and roll it into both. That family care home or child care home can be merged into one.
Yeah, there's a different thing.
There's a
That's totally
difference. So we need to add I'm looking at table 3.1 that are residential and related uses. So we have family care home in there, but you say that's separate from a family child care home.
Yes, it's different.
Yes.
So we will need to create a whole new use, probably with the same PSs on there, and then a new section 3 point whatever letter we're up to. This one was an E. We got to go to F. Actually, it's the next one. So there'll be a 3.7F that puts these standards in here, such that the exit has to be on the same level, et cetera, et cetera.
With I need to again. This is just bringing to your attention the solution. I have not
Well,
come up with the best way to solve
it
it.
seems like we're going to have to do it because it's certainly a possibility. Someone could
Yeah.
do that, is take a residential home, and it said what's up to more than 2 children or less than 11, you said?
The statute says
3, I thought.
any one time more than 2 but less than 11.
Okay.
So 3 to 11.
3 to 10.
3 to 10.
Yes, 3 to 10.
Which is, you have 2 kids, you could easily take care of 2 other, right? That would apply. So yes, I guess we need to do this.
In reality, the difference is the change is it used to say a family child care home is a child care arrangement located in a residence where at any one time more than but less than 11, and it changes. They strike through residence and say an operator occupied private dwelling.
Right. And this is also adding these, what I would call sort of safety standards. I don't know if it's applicable.
Yes, we'll need to look
And
at that.
and the first one, I think, applies to the UDO. Rooms and areas within the family care home where the occupants receive care shall be on the same level as the exit. Okay, that's to me sort of a UDO thing when you're looking at a home. Where the kid's going to be on the same level of the exit. I don't know if the last part we can do anything with. Fire safety, evacuation, and lockdown plan compliant with section. We
That's
can't.
got to be part of their permit,
That's got to be part of their.
building permit application or whatever it is. We can't.
Correct.
We can't do the 40-foot travel distance and all that without knowing what the inside of the home is.
Right. So how does currently somebody in Sunset Beach decide to have a child care home?
I've not been asked that question yet, so I don't know.
So I guess
Can we just make this an unacceptable usage?
I mean, that's possibility,
that would be a downzoning.
but you know, in my mind, it potentially was a home occupation, but I don't know that a definition of home occupation covers it.
I mean, in Sunset Beach, we're the oldest demographic. That is changing, but I don't.
Well, as you have new developments like Angel Chase and
Yeah.
Sanctuary, you're going to see your demographic change
See
some.
the demographic change. There
True.
might be somebody in there that wants to do this. So.
Could be as simple as a vacation. You come here and you want to go to the beach and don't want to take your kids. There's like a daycare to drop them off at. Right.
That's true.
So yeah, I think we have to address it. I just don't know how it works. I'm not clear. Well, certainly, I've started out being unclear between what we already have versus what we need. So I need to wrap my head around that a little better and then figure out if somebody wants to do it now, do they just do it, and they don't need a license or a permit or anything?
They'd have to get something from the state at a minimum, but I'm not. This use has not been brought to my attention in my 2 years here. So.
I can tell you in local communities where this is actually done quite often unlicensed, it's not a good situation.
Right.
So
Well, certainly the safety
if we're gonna-
standards here seem reasonable, but
if we're going to create an acceptable application,
or should this be in a municipal ordinance, not in the outside the UDO?
I think it's a UDO issue,
Okay.
but at least the use is
The allowance.
the allowance of the
of
what
the
the-
use. Yeah.
and as you guys talked about, we wouldn't dabble in the fire code requirements. I believe that was all that was in my attention. I don't know if you found anything, and if you reviewed that and found something that
I
of
did.
other interest, but
Found one other one that I just wanted to bring up. and
Hey,
that's,
Joanne?
Staff report, page 30, and it's man-made ditches. It has to do with CAMA and, exempting man-made ditches from designation as waterways, lands flowed by tidal waters. Has to do with the definition of marshland. So I'm just thinking, since we're a coastal community, some of this stuff may apply. But because we've got properties where the people have come in and dug ditches, and then the state's tried to apply protection over that. So now they've taken some of this away, as saying that you can't designate it as an environmental concern. Somebody's already dug a ditch. I don't know if this needs to be something in the UDO or not.
I'll look at that. I don't know either. Right at the top of my head.
It came,
In my
up.
perusal, I didn't think it did, but doesn't mean that I didn't over.
Yeah, it came up when we were talking about that lot that we were doing the grading permit or the grading
Standards.
standards change, and they had a ditch, the man-made ditch had been dug down the side, and that question came up: is that a protected ditch, or is it environmental concern? Or that's all I was thinking. I just thought it might be worth looking into.
Yeah, because it's referencing a general statute 113-229. No, general statute 113A-103. But I can look into that a little bit further. I don't know how it impacts our code, or if at all.
For priority reasons, I guess, I don't know. You plan on doing this as one swoop or trying to break this up? What's your plan?
Initially, it was to bring it to you next month.
Is
As
one
one swoop.
package? Okay.
Because I think most of them were fairly clear cut things we have to do, like the waiting period, the downzoning definition. I don't know that we have to do anything with the family child care home or not, but we can break them up as well, whatever the preference of the board is.
I think it'd be better to keep them together so there's
Yeah.
one public hearing.
Right. If all possible, if we could do it that way, would probably be better. even though it adds to a little bit of confusion because you're on kind of a lot of diverse topics at the same time, right?
Right.
But
Don't know that they're very controversial topics, though.
Right. Okay. Anybody else got any questions on any of this?
No?
So the plan is to try to incorporate this in a series of text amendments presented either at the next meeting or the following meeting,
Right.
no later than the following meeting. So it'd be the
Either
June
June or July.
or July meeting as a series of text amendments broken down such that we can go through them one at a time. And
Yes, sir.
okay,
If that's okay with the board.
yes, I believe we're fine with that. Correct.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I did notice, I did not see this in this, but City of Wilmington just changed something related to their floodplain ordinance. They said they had to do, and I want to pull their package to see what was changed on that as well. But as I've mentioned that, I do know that the state has proposed some new floodplain regulation requirements, and Carrie and I need to get together and go through to see what needs to be changed in our code. What's an absolute has to be changed
Mhm.
to comply with that. So that's going to probably be more of a July timeframe. I do know there's some, at least the way I was quickly looking at it, there were some optional requirements. So that's, I want to see what we have a code, the code that is compliant and consistent with what we were told we had to do to be part of the National Flood Insurance Program. I want to make sure we maintain that ability and compliant with that criteria. But I'm still not certain exactly what has to be changed versus might need to, nice to change kind of thing. So.
Okay. Okay.
Regardless, either way, you guys will see it straight through underline.
All right. Based on the revised agenda, number 7 now is public comments on any topic. Seeing no public comments, we'll move on. Planning board comments. We'll start on this side, so Richard can go last. Any comments or thoughts on from the planning board on, I guess, anything?
All right, so I want to take a minute to talk about something totally new. Talked to Ron about this a little bit, but and some of this was going to come up when we did the land use plan, but now seems to be in the nethers. But someone handed me a book a few months ago that I then read and kind of fell in love with because it kind of embraced some of the transportation design elements that I've always used as an engineer. So in my 35 years of designing mainly streets, I used some of these technologies and ideas as I went along, not knowing that somebody else was out there doing kind of a movement. And this movement is called Strong Towns. And it really didn't hit with any force until after I retired. So I didn't really know what was going on until I read this book and realized that there's a whole movement out there to change how we think about transportation. And it relates to transportation engineering, it relates to pedestrian safety, and it's a whole different way of looking at it. I mean, for an engineer, it's looking at things totally backward and different than how I was trained. And as I design streets, so one technical difference that the book pointed out is that roads are basically highways to get you from one town to another. So 17 is a road, Old Georgetown is a road, But a street is where you live on or you shop at, and those streets should be designed for pedestrians. Yes, for cars also, but pedestrians should be the priority. Not because, I mean, the difference being that once you're at a street level, you have already, the speed levels should go down because people are walking, biking, and they're moving around instead of on a highway. Nobody's walking or riding a bike, theory. So it's just a different way of looking at it. So I wanted to read a couple of paragraphs off their website that kind of incorporate some of these ideas. One is street design is the primary factor in crash prevention and safety. The design of a street is the single most important factor in whether people drive safely or not. It's not about how many signs you put up, how many tickets the police write, or how many public service announcements you run. If a street is designed to feel like a highway, people will drive it like a highway, even if the speed limit says 25. And, just relating back to my experience, I fought for years transportation engineers. I never considered myself a transportation engineer, although I designed thousands of streets. But I always fought for my subdivisions to control the speed by mechanically designing the streets to lower the speed limit. You can't do a 1 mile straightaway with no vertical curves in it and then post it at 15 miles an hour. People are going to drive 50. And you can't expect them to drive 15 just by putting a sign up. Second point was streets should prioritize human movement, not automobile movement. So most of our streets have been designed like roads. They're optimized for moving cars quickly and efficiently, which often makes them dangerous and unpleasant for everyone else. When we flip the priority and design streets for people first, we get places that are safer, more inviting, and more economically productive. Slower speeds, narrower lanes, more crossings, better lighting, and active frontages all contribute to a street that supports human life and interaction. Ironically, when you do that, even drivers benefit because the street becomes more predictable and less chaotic. So, it's kind of a mind-blowing thing for a civil engineer to think about some of these ideas. But once I went through the book and read through what he was talking about, he had specific examples in there of pedestrian safety, and he had an example in there of he lived 3 miles from his office. And between his office and his house, the speed limit was from 30 to 45 miles an hour. There were 6 traffic lights. So he started timing himself how long it took to get home. He said because he always hit 1 to 6 of the traffic lights, that trip took him, I don't remember the number, it was like 15 minutes. But he said, if you removed all the traffic lights, you posted that street at 20 miles an hour, he said he would have gotten home faster every day. He said because the traffic lights make you stop at a certain time. And plus there's the slowing down, the speeding up, all that, and that's part of the chaos thing that he was talking about. So one specific example I'll give you, I've been thinking about this as we were talking about land use plan. I kept bringing up we need these small area plans to talk about Sunset Boulevard, and these were some of the ideas I was thinking about, but he's kind of given me some background and some a little bit more oomph to go with my ideas. So here's one example. So Sunset Boulevard, from the roundabout to North Shore Drive on the island, 1.1 miles. Right now it's posted at 35 miles an hour, right? So that would take you 1 minute and 53 seconds. If we posted it at 20 miles an hour, it would take you 3 minutes and 18 seconds. So that's a minute and a half, less than a minute and a half longer, go across the bridge and get onto the island. But what it's done is it's taken that differential, speed differential of a car versus a person walking at 5 miles an hour, cars going 35. You've got golf carts going 20 miles an hour. You've got bicycles going 10 miles an hour. Why is it so important that we get somebody from the roundabout to the island in a minute and a half faster? So these are just some of the ideas that I wanted us to think about. If we can take that speed differential between a vehicle and a pedestrian or a biker, then what we're doing was we're making the bridge feel safer to pedestrians and bikers. I go across the bridge a lot. Almost every time I go across, there's a pedestrian or there's a bicyclist. And they need to feel safer. It's not, I've run across the bridge, I've walked across the bridge, I've biked across the bridge. It does not feel safe. When a car is going by you at 35 miles an hour, it does not feel safe. So it doesn't make you feel like, I want to go do that again. But there's a way we could narrow those lanes, we could widen the walking, biking lanes on that bridge, reduce that speed limit, and make that drive much safer for everybody. And it would encourage, and again, we got people complaining about golf carts go too slow over the bridge. Well, this would reduce, I mean, now the car would be going the same speed as a golf cart. So now there's, again, we've reduced a conflict and we've made the whole bridge experience safer. So that's just one example of what I'm kind of thinking about, and we could look at different areas along Sunset Boulevard. We could look at areas of 904. Because if we could slow people down and get more pedestrian crossings, I think we could improve that whole Mud District area, because nobody on the Mud District side feels comfortable walking across the street. I've been you go down Sunset Boulevard and every now and then you'll see somebody race across the road. That's because they don't feel safe enough to walk across the road, and they should be given the priority, not the cars. That's my little spiel for the day.
It's interesting.
It's
So
kind of fascinating to think about, but I guess I would like to open this up for more dialogue and even see if I can contact Strong Towns, because they have people that will come do speeches and presentations and things like that. So instead of just listening to me, maybe we can get somebody from Strong Towns in here, and maybe if, as a planning board, we open some of this dialogue whenever we get the land use plan working again, these are some of the ideas we could start talking about. And again, why are we moving traffic? Why does traffic from 904 on 179 have to go so fast, 45 miles an hour from 904 to the roundabout? Why? Why is that extra minute or two that important? If we slow those people down, that whole environment becomes totally different.
Fascinating.
I did only take a cursory look at it yesterday, and
It's a lot.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But let me tell you some stories I get. So where I previously lived was in a much higher density suburban environment.
Right.
Okay. My suburb had 55,000 people in it, and it was considered a small, medium-sized suburb of Chicago. And I rode my bike a lot, but at that time, because I was a few years younger. And I sold my bike when I came here, because when I looked at this area, to me, it's not a safe area to ride a bike in.
I agree.
It's not designed that way.
That's right.
Where I previously lived, they spent money, time, and put bike paths that were not part of the thoroughfares or streets for that matter in some cases,
Right.
where there was either sidewalks or bike paths that got you through town and utility right of ways to get to lakes, and that's how you got around on the bike. You didn't go on you tried not to go on the streets. Well, some I would say were roads. You
Right.
stayed off the roads with bikes. You know, like the little bike path we have out here is, there was some like that, but there was not. They were trying to get and put you on what would be what we were kind of calling a multi-use path. Now, this was before the e-bike thing.
Right.
E-bike didn't exist when I was doing that. I'm sure it's probably changed things because I recently spent a week in Hilton Head. Okay, and they have a extensive, completely town-wide multi-use path system. Okay, for pedestrians, bikes. I believe they must be addressing e-bikes now because they have little stop signs on the path that they didn't have the last time I was there.
Speed limit signs.
Even
too, don't
speed
they?
limit signs and stuff on the multi-use, you know, which didn't exist. In my day, riding the rollerbladers were the biggest problem because
Mhm.
they take their strides are way wide, right?
Right.
And they're hard to bike around because you never know how far left or right a rollerblader is going. So anyway, I understand. It just, unfortunately, I don't know how to apply some of this stuff because we have hard infrastructure already existing. And it's, I think, next to impossible to change hard infrastructure once it exists because of the cost. Going forward, we've tried, and Richard's been a proponent of these sidewalks that nowhere go somewhere, you know, and we've tried to widen some of these things to get multi-use. So I think certainly we can do a lot of that in the land use plan if we get it back. I won't assume we are going to get it back at this point.
Right.
We've talked about incorporate. So I don't know. I mean, we have some street design standards, I think. We went through block length and curves and, you know, whether some of that could be re-looked at again too. I think I agree with trying to make it as much pedestrian friendly and non-motorized vehicle friendly as possible is a great idea. And I agree, trying to get from the mud to the Gateway District. We're just talking about the Gateway. The connection between the mud and, let's face it, really, you need an underpass or a bridge.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
We can start with a big walk and a stop sign or stop sites or whatever, but really the way to do it is an overpass. Right? A pedestrian overpass or an underpass, right? Probably hear an overpass, you don't.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, so I think our thought process, I don't know what we can affect though. If we get the land use plan, maybe we can have, as we talked about trying to do before, you get some of the interconnectability and in the land use plan. And then again, to me, the land use plan then flows to the UDO and then flows to other things to get it done. So I just don't know how much of an effect we can have other than looking at the standards we have and keep trying to move them in a direction for pedestrian interconnectability,
Well, I think even if,
non-motorized connectability.
even if we don't have the land use plan doesn't come back to us, if we do these kind of discussions or engagements, the public's going to hear about some of these ideas and they're going to say, hey, I like that idea. And at the public engagement sessions, hopefully some of this stuff will come up,
Right.
not just for me.
And we can create, depending on word, a meeting agenda to talk about. We can have a topic a discussion item topic based on this. I guess I don't like to get too broad on these.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we can, whether the public shows up then and listens or talks, it's up to them. I can leave it. But I have no objection, especially if we don't have a workload, a plat to go over or whatever. It's going to take time to have a discussion item on sidewalks or multi-use paths or whether traffic circles are better than intersections,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the part of this,
I don't think we
Strong
can
towns.
control speed limits at all, right? On
Well,
IDOT roads, not at all.
Well,
Only
we
on town
can-
roads, right?
They're DOT roads, but we can ask,
Yes,
we
right.
can petition for them to change the speed limit. And
We did
can
on, we
petition.
just did on Georgetown Road, right? About a year ago.
Yep.
It was
Mhm.
55 and now it's 45.
There's a process.
Yep.
And
Right.
that's what I was going to bring up is with those being DOT roads and with the town like Sunset Beach, a lot of your major corridors are DOT. We'd have to partner with them
Right,
on whatever
But I think what
in any infrastructure changes.
I
right,
think what you're really, in my mind, is creating a mindset, a
right.
planning mindset that takes this into consideration. Maybe not, what's the end all, what can be accomplished, but having sort of a mindset, and I believe we're kind of been there, is that creating a more walkable town, bikeable town,
Safer.
safer town,
Right.
has been in sort of our mindset, but maybe looking at some of this stuff topic by topic gives us a bit more tools or different way of thinking.
Yeah, and I think
What's
that's
the right way of doing it?
part of it is just changing the whole mindset of, because people, I bet nobody in the town's thinking about that speed differential across the bridge. I mean, but there's other places on the island specifically that speed is a
And I-
problem.
And I'll tell you
traffic's a
how it
problem.
really works. My street that I live on, which probably none of you have seen, it's a divided road, a boulevard. So you got lanes in each direction, 3,960 feet long, not a curve on it. Okay, so
Yep.
it's a speedway.
So it's a dragway.
It's a dragway. Okay, and I mean we got posted all kinds of signs, which is useless. The police don't. It's a private road, so police can't do anything.
Right.
Okay, and here comes the odd thing of it. And there's no sidewalk, so the road is the sidewalk.
Right.
Okay, and it's only 10 feet wide each
Okay.
lane. So you understand what it's like out there. Okay, and I walk quite a bit. So the POA decided this is an unsafe situation, so installed traffic quiting devices. Okay.
Yeah.
Which are effective. There was quite a pushback from the town to remove those.
Hmm.
So,
So-
as in the fire code, there cannot be most traffic quieting devices in a street that has safety vehicle access to.
Right.
So some of the things you were talking
Art-
about might do here makes it harder. The fire code
Yep.
and the fire chief maybe say, I don't want all those curves that slow you down, or a circle, or a bump, or a
Well,
brick area.
I can tell you, I fought many a
Right.
fire chief over, they thought that that curve was too sharp or this.
And I
they just-
timed what the difference was
Yeah.
going that distance with or without traffic quieting, and it's 15 seconds from making 3,960 feet with the traffic quieting and another street that didn't have it. It's only like 15 to 18 seconds difference.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
Part of this issue is political,
yeah.
because
But
gotta
well, I
change
guess what
how-
I'm saying is sometimes there's going to be a balance of, I won't say necessarily loggerheads, a difference in priorities.
Yep.
Okay, that has to face.
and a big part of this strong towns thing too is trying to save money. So they don't advocate more lanes, they don't advocate, this, or it's all about pedestrian safety and access. And so it's more about, can we think about one additional pedestrian crossing on Sunset Boulevard, and then next year could we do one more? It's not redesign the whole road, and it's incrementally can we head towards this direction. So,
And some of this is cultural. I mean,
oh yeah,
I was just in Charleston, and it's kind of an odd. I mean, there are streets, but but there is a culture that if there's a crosswalk,
Stop.
they stop,
hmm
right? And so sometimes just a can of paint, and a little education
right.
and ordinance. In other words, if you hit somebody in a crosswalk, it's on you no matter what. And
We like to avoid that.
yeah, I mean that's not what we're shooting for.
Right.
But I think those are things that And the other disadvantage that we have is that Sunset Beach came into existence as a variety of planned communities, and each one of them has their own,
Issues.
origin story.
Right.
And, they all kind of feed in so the roads essentially became, I emerged from my planned community. I want to get somewhere, right? I want to get to the store. I want to get to the doctor. But those things are far away. The thing about the mud district that I, practically preach is, it gives a sense of proximity to the things that I want. And if I have that sense of proximity, I don't have to be in a hurry. But if my doctor's in Charlotte and you tell me I can only go 20 miles an hour, I don't think that's going to be well received. But so it's difficult because when you do this organically from the beginning, and there are communities out there that have done that, and it's obvious. But when you're trying to impose it after the fact,
On an existing system.
it's tough. But, I think in some respects, and that's why I thought the land use plan, because the 2017 land use plan really doesn't deal with this at all.
Right.
And, people want to know, well, why do we have a land use plan? And it's kind of like, well, if you don't have a plan, how do you know where you're going? And we may be very limited in what we can accomplish in terms of those goals. But if you don't say, hey, this would be a good place for us to be,
You'll never get there.
you're never going to get there.
Yep.
So anyway, those are my thoughts on it.
Michael?
Well, I really am interested in this because I ride my bike, mainly ride on our street and Shoreline, and
Shoreline?
yeah, well, I have to get over to the other streets.
Yeah.
I have no choice, and I walk probably 2 miles almost every day.
Mhm.
And I mean,
If you want to connect this town by path, the bike path should go through Colony through Oyster, through Sea Trail, all the way to the Mud District.
Yep.
Not go on Shoreline. The path should cut through all the residential areas.
and I would never go down West Shoreline. It's East Shoreline.
Yeah.
A little bit less traffic there.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, yeah, I just
So-
I'm kind of fascinated by this.
Well, good.
Yeah.
So I guess for Stuart's point of view, if you'd like an item added for discussion, you need to propose it to Ron, and we can add it to the agenda.
Okay.
But again, my preference is always not too broad. If it's some specific topic that maybe we could do something with, street design or sidewalk design, I'm just throwing just crazy things out here.
Right. Okay.
That we can educate ourselves on, educate the public on, that that eventually may go to some sort of UDO thing or not. It's my original preference. Obviously, if you want to do something with Dot, NC Dot, I guess go through Ron and then see maybe what the procedure is on that. Convince the town administrator, I guess, Kenneth, to consider it, right? Or does council vote on those kind of things? It's your floor now, Ron, too.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
don't-
mean, it's a very broad conversation and topic. I don't know the best. I'm happy to get with Mr. Jones, see what his ideas and thoughts might be, at least in putting on the next planning board agenda for a general discussion. But that's what I'm hearing. But I don't know. I mean, it's bringing in Strong Town as an example. They may want some type of honorarium or something to pay, for the guy to come in, and that's a budget issue. Nothing I can commit to as an example. That's just my experience
Mhm.
with using not Strong Towns per se, but other, bringing in guest speakers or someone.
Any of your other areas that you're previous been with or currently with that are on similar thought patterns or?
With strong towns in
Right.
general, well,
Well, not only their concept, but similar. There's other price. I mean,
yeah, there's been I'm familiar with bringing in some of the same type of concepts, having streets being used for linear parks with the focus on pedestrians and first, vehicle second, not roads, streets, as Mr.
Right.
Jones was trying to point out. Incorporating, traffic calming measures on the onset of a subdivision design versus the after, trying to retrofit them later, making sure you don't have those long blocks or long stretches of a street before, so yeah, I'm familiar with that. We've done that in Wilmington when I was there, as an example. Incorporating the removing minimum parking standards in the UDO in Wilmington, where I left, was the result of having some of these same kind of principles and concepts. I played a Chuck Marone, who's the founder of Strong Towns, video at council meeting when we were talking about our land use code at the time. On why we don't need to be regulating having so many parking spaces, particularly if the intent was for that
well, we've done the same.
Friday
thing.
after
We
Thanksgiving.
did the same thing on our
Yeah,
non-residential.
we did.
We've
We did.
not done anything on our residential side. Is it something we should look at?
Residential is tricky. We kept them in for residential
Right.
in Wilmington because of the college influence. Making sure there was enough spaces for, maybe a 2-bedroom apartment, but probably 4 people might be living there. To make sure you have enough cars. So we didn't touch the residential in Wilmington either. So yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the concepts, and Strong Town is definitely an advocate for better design, an advocate for better, more efficient run government. He points out, how your downtowns really need to be. Downtowns generate the tax base. Say, like, I'll just use Wilmington as an example, and how the suburbs really are being funded by the downtowns if they're properly designed.
Like in our case here, we don't have a downtown. We have
right. Well, your beach
a
properties,
gateway district, or whatever you want to call it, a commercial lane.
a lot of your beach properties though maybe subsidize some of the other things, so
Right.
it's different. We did some of those heat maps,
Very
that
different.
shows, here's based on property tax values. You see where we had some areas, downtown obviously, then some of the more affluent neighborhoods kind of showing the tax base was impacted, but it's depends on where you want to take the topics and who we bring in and what the impact. So we may need to have further discussion or direction from administration and from council on how far we go with this. You mentioned the sidewalks to nowhere, and I'm hearing that too. How come you guys aren't requiring them to connect or build? We can't. By state law, we can only require the improvements along the frontage when a development occurs. That's where the town could have a sidewalk replacement plan or gap where they can fill the gaps or whatever if they have a capital projects. But again, that's just what else is important. Stormwater is important. Traffic's important. Sidewalks and bike and pedestrian facilities are important. Where's it all fit in the?
Now, the town has a lobbyist, correct?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Because I think one of the things as we explore these issues is we're going to discover what state or regional ordinances make this, I'm thinking specifically about sidewalks to nowhere. What ordinances make this more difficult and perhaps can focus upstream in terms of getting relief in some way from those ordinances.
The sidewalks from nowhere requiring a developer to connect, 300 feet somewhere else, as an example.
Off
That's
the property.
off their property. That's state law, and it's also court cases that have substantiated in court state law. So DOT has a little bit more flexibility than the local government does. Or at least, but there's even cases that have said they've pushed the limit on things.
Okay.
So it's
DOT is a big issue in this because DOT is all engineers. and they don't particularly care for pedestrians. And they like pedestrians because they are pedestrians, but roads aren't designed for pedestrians. So they think of safety as how can we move that car fastest from this point to this point, not, how do we get this person across
Yeah.
the street? They don't typically like sidewalks because then they have to maintain them. It's always a battle with DOT. It's just, again, it's a mindset, it's a philosophy. And this guy points out in this book, it's so true. This is how we were trained.
Mhm.
These are all the design handbooks are built around these old philosophies from post-World War II.
Yeah. And
And
the
we've never
development
changed
philosophy post-World War II was, we're going to build a lot of residential over here. Everybody's going to have a carport or garage. We're going to put all the commercial over here. And people, the way things are going to work is,
God, the
It-
50s are wonderful, wasn't it?
huh?
The
I know.
50s are wonderful.
I know.
And we'll funnel all this traffic onto this one road.
Onto this one road, and then they'll go to the shopping center. They'll execute their commercial interactions. They'll get back in their car,
Well,
and
I guess the short term, as we can bring this to an end here, is yes, we can discuss these topics. I'd propose them to Ron if you can add them to the agenda, but trying to be as focused as possible at a time
Okay.
so that we can, one, get our heads around it, and then if public wants to listen in or come in, they can at least understand how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
That's right.
So, and then of course our mindset, and I think we already had it, is to kind of incorporate these mindset into what we do and how we write the, changes. And I've said before in front of the public is, this is the important part, right?
Right.
Is the planning, the mindset, what we put into the written language,
right.
because one, as we said today, it has to comply with the state law, but because later on when a developer comes and you don't like the development, if we haven't already written this stuff, as long as they comply with what's already written,
Yeah.
it's a done deal.
Yeah.
So it's harder to do because you're trying to look out
Yeah.
Right.
further. But if we have this as our sort of, again, our mindset, and we learn more about it, when we're looking at a sidewalk ordinance or block length or whatever these what seems to be mundane
Right.
textual items,
Right.
is that, well, if we do this a little bit, we get a little better outcome out of it, or canopy trees or whatever,
Right.
right? I think that's how to do it, is to keep that and always be in our mind. Now, and if we do get the land use plan back, if we do or we don't, I have no idea. As we
Well, I
talked about
think
before, trying to incorporate this in, and maybe we need to make sure the planning board, if we are going to get it back, maybe a note to council is, we should be more involved possibly in designing, if we're going to hire a consultant or a firm to do this, on what is going to be in the scope of the thing. Because we had discussions last time, you wanted some more things in the scope.
Yeah.
They didn't scope it that way. They didn't do the RFQ, whatever they call it, that way, and
Right.
issued a contract, and it wasn't there. We're trying to add afterward. So possibly the better way to do it, if we're going to do a do-over here, is to be more involved in putting the RFQ out, or whatever you want to call it, that this is the scope of doing our land use plan, which is the minimum camo requirements or whatever, plus these other things that could incorporate some of the stuff.
Well, the other point of this too, when the light bulb goes off, when you compare communities that have executed this pretty well to communities that haven't, it's about a 30% bump in home value. The difference between a Sunset Beach and a Pacific Palisades is about $400,000 for a 2,500 square foot home, simply because, and they're in California, but they've done the math. There's sidewalks everywhere. There's shopping centers embedded in the community. You don't need to have a car, right?
Okay. Anything else from the town?
For the planning board comments, I have two. First off, just so everybody knows, Ron and I had a meeting, a 2-on-2 with Mike Postel and Christie. I thought the meeting went very well. I circulated a summary of the meeting to all of the participants in the meeting. I was hopeful that Christie would take it upon herself to circulate that to the rest of the council. I ran into Katie yesterday at a Sea Trail event, and she had read the email. So I'm assuming that Christie circulated it to the council, and hopefully we'll see some impact. That's the good news. The bad news is, on May 14th, I was served with a summons from Riptide Builders accusing me of libel. I am now in the process of working with the town to see what resources I have available from the town. There's an organization, I don't have the name on the top of my head, but basically an organization that supports the defense of town officials who get sued by other folks. Don't have a resolution of that yet. The one thing I do want to share is, both to the council, to the planning board, to the community, and to Riptide, that in no way will this impact my impartiality that I think I've been totally consistent on as a planning board member here in my 4 years of service. In no way will it impact my impartiality in the event of anything that comes up from that applicant. And that's it.
Okay. Staff, anything else for us? June meeting?
I have nothing new. We do plan to meet in June. I believe I have a conditional zoning application that I need to look at. Is for the Seaside Methodist Church here, the street. And I've got to go through the packet to figure out exactly what they're proposing, and we'll be
That
meeting
parcel
with
they picked up?
parcel they picked up plus their current parcel. I believe they're potentially future building plans as well as some other conditions they'd like for consideration. But I'm still analyzing that. Was away the last 10 or 12 days, so I'm not spending a whole lot of time in it. So, but they did meet the deadline for the June meeting. But I'm going to talk with them a little bit. My goal was to talk with them a little bit on what
So
they've
right now
submitted.
for June, that's the only item we have other than some minutes to approve and,
Minutes and potentially the legislative
potentially this
the legislative
stuff.
updates.
yes, sorry.
I will not be here for the June meeting. I will be in New York, but if I just want to make sure that everybody else is intent on attendance, so we have a quorum.
Yeah, and I'm assuming I have no update on an ETJ member.
I have, believe it or not, I met a gentleman walking his dog in front of my house who lives in the sanctuary. And when I asked him about this, he says, you know, I have a person that I think would be perfect. So she is kind of the den mother of this sanctuary and kind of convenes an informal sanctuary HOA. And I gave him my number and said, have her call me. So I'll keep everybody posted.
I have no
And
updates.
she may reach out to you, Kimberly. I gave him your name for her to reach out to. Okay? I'm not sure if that was the best way to get to the town, but it, all right, thanks.
It's an application online, I think.
There's an application.
Oh, I wish I knew. I would have suggested that she use that.
I'm sure Kim will
But
point
anyway,
in the right direction.
Kim will, yeah. Tell her.
I have nothing else.
Okay.
Any update on the land use plan?
I have nothing.
Okay. Thanks to everyone today. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? No nays? We're hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.